participate in athletics and fine arts and chorus and all of those things that really make them feel connected to their school. I know many of you believe this as well as I do. With my two boys, it's like they had to be involved in something extracurricular. They actually did better when the season was in place. When the season got over is when we kind of had to make sure that they were busy. So things have gone very well. I was at 2 schools this morning, and I pinched myself. What I wanted to tell you is you have no idea how good this school system really is. It is a remarkable place. I went in at least 100 classrooms this morning, and not one, and I'm not a good liar, not one I wouldn't put my child in. That is an amazing place to be. It is very unusual. The retention rate of teachers is really important, and it's been great here in Fayette County. That is our #1 job, is to retain the teachers and high quality staff that we have. People can choose here in Fayette County. They can choose all sorts of different things, and they choose to come to our public schools. So I want to thank you all for that support. This year has been phenomenal. I want to share with you a little bit about our data, our background. If you don't know that much about the school system, you're going to learn a little bit. If you know a lot about the school system, this will just be a reminder. So we have 5 Board of Education members. That's a big deal. The governance of school systems is a big deal. So again, 5 is a magic number when you're talking about a Board of Education. You start getting 7, 9, it gets harder and harder to get things done. So this is a really important thing that the founders of this system really created. It's a really good decision. We have 24 traditional schools, 1 special entity school. Our schools, 24, we've got sort of smaller schools, and I'll show you the size here in just a second. We are the largest employer in Fayette County. It's a big business. We have a $228 million budget, and it's something we take full responsibility for and ownership of. But that's a big responsibility. We have just very few new teachers. The teachers are a little bit more veteran in the system, and so that'll be a challenge for us as teachers retire. Do I have any retired educators in the room? It is a good deal. The Georgia retirement system is a good deal. And so people, when they hit 30 years, they start thinking about retiring. Ryan, you can change your profession and come back in and do full-time education. So it's a good deal. We do have about 25%, which is called free or reduced lunch, meaning that families qualify for a free or reduced lunch based on their income level. That's pretty low. That is a pretty low number. And then our per pupil funding is pretty good, but most of our money in that $228 million is spent on teachers. It's really spent on class size. And so if we were to reduce the budget, we would obviously have to reduce the number of teachers, because we do not have a large district office at all. We are in the business of teaching and learning. However, we feed a lot of students and we travel a lot of miles in our buses. So, and I'm really proud of those services, but our main focus is teaching and learning. So we've got right at 20,000 students. We are plateaued in terms of the number of students. We're actually kind of holding steady right at 20,000, kind of going up and down 20,000 for the last few years. One of the things you might see, these are the size of our schools, and on my left here is the largest school, on your left, McIntosh High School. They've roughly got about 1,700 students, but we have schools that are all the way down at 425 students. So if you think about, those of you who are in business, think about distribution of education to 24 different sites with these different variables of, some schools have 425 students, some schools have 1,600 students. The quality there is really important that we get that right when you're thinking about all those 24, 25 sites. And that'll be a theme here. One of the things I wanted to share with you is if you look at our graduating class, you're roughly thinking about 1,600 students, seniors this year will graduate from Fayette County Schools. But if you look at kindergarten, we just have around 1,100 kindergarten students. So there's quite a bit of difference. We do see a large number of students that come to us in 6th grade, as well as the 9th grade is high for a couple of reasons. One of them not so good, and that is retention. 9th grade is the one grade where kids get caught, and a lot of freedom in 9th grade. Some things that they don't kind of stay up on their class work, and sometimes they don't earn enough credits to go to 10th grade. So, but that's one of the things that this group needs to know is that you've heard about the grain of Fayette County. Well, you can kind of see it in these numbers. And so those of you real estate agents, sell homes to people who have young children, please. These are our demographics. We are a majority minority school district, meaning that a majority of our students are minority. And it differs depending on the area of the county that you're in. And so we're roughly, as a system, 44% white, 32% African American. And so, again, these are our students, and we are very proud of our kids. Our diversity hasn't changed that much. This is a terrible graph, so my apologies. But I just basically wanted you to see how sort of flat the lines are in terms of our diversity. It hasn't changed a whole lot. We are an excellent school system in terms of our rankings. We're 6th in Georgia, 4th in the metro area. And the majority of those school systems that are higher than us are really small city school systems. Beaufort, Decatur, a couple of those. So it's basically Forsyth, Oconee County, and then Fayette County. So we are a very desirable school system in terms of our rankings, our overall rankings. Now I'll tell you, I'm very competitive, and I would like us to be number one, no doubt about it. But when you compare school systems, you need to look at apples to apples. Forsyth and Oconee have about half as much poverty as we do. But we are neck and neck in terms of our achievement with those two school systems. So I'm really proud of the accomplishments of our teachers and our schools, but we are doing well, but I think we can still do a little bit better. So what does it take for us to go from number 6 to how do we get to number 1? I think it starts with this culture that we create as a community, and that is high expectations. I see Judge Thompson over here. It's expectations that we have throughout our community. The school system can't do it alone. The parents really have a huge responsibility in creating this excellence expectation. And so when we think about our school system in the future, we think about keeping our expectations high and helping parents that are new parents figure out how to do that for their own children. I remember as a new parent, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I was very appreciative to people that I was close to who were pretty successful raising children, leaning on them and saying, what do you do? So we need your help in just coaching younger families. It's a hard job, but our expectation levels have to stay high. If our expectations from our community drop, guess what's happening? The expectations of everything. The whole broken window syndrome. Our people are incredible. One of the things that you may not appreciate is the people that we have in our school building, specifically our teachers. The tenure and the capacity of our teachers is remarkable. Anywhere in the metro area would die without our teachers. And that's the name of the game in my business. It's all about teachers. Teachers and principals. You want to improve your school? First of all, if you've got a poor performing school, the first thing you should do is probably replace the principal. Everything rises and falls on leadership. But the teachers are the ones that have the greatest impact on achievement. And we are very blessed in this county to have excellent teachers. So we do have a strong instructional program, great fine arts, our athletic programs, just right here in McIntosh. I think, I can't remember how many state championships they won last year, but I think it was at least 4. And we'll do some more of that. And that's the things that you all need to come to expect from the school system, and expect from our schools. So as we think about this year and our initiatives, one of the things that I wanted to share with you is our focus, my focus, the team's focus. And that is really improving the quality of instruction for our students every day. If we can do every day, we're in school 180 days, have really good, high-quality instruction for 6 periods a day, for 180 days, we will be one of the top school systems in the world. It's 180 days is the hard part. You can do really good instruction for 1 day. You can do it for 2 days. But 5 days a week, first semester and second semester is really hard for schools to do. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things that people want us to do. A lot of things to get involved in to do and take away. But if we can stay focused to our instructional partner, really teaching and staying focused to that, we are going to even soar even higher. The second thing that I wanted to point to is the supports for students. Now, I'm sure a lot of you had a good experience this past year working through Zoom. It worked for you. It's worked a lot for a lot of folks. It's not a great instructional model for kids. Some kids, yes. Some kids can do it. They're pretty self-motivated. They have the parents right there. But kids need structure. Most kids need a lot of structure. And so we've got some kids that have had some learning gaps from last year that are really hard to close. Y'all have heard of the achievement gap, right? You've heard of that? Well, that's the differences between one group and another group, and how do we close that gap? Well, I will tell you that this is embarrassing to say, but our achievement gap got bigger. Those who were in person and those who were virtual. We still have a virtual program, but I'm concerned about it. And I think we've got families that make that choice based on fear. They're so fearful that they would rather do that than send their kids in person. I get that. Fear is a very powerful emotion. But we've got to do more to support our students who are coming back. We're seeing a little bit of issues with people just getting along and knowing how to do school. People that were in virtual last year and they're coming back, and so we're working through that. But it will be an important year for us to get those students back into their schools, being successful, the behavior, all of those little things that you kind of take for granted that kids can do. That's one of the things that we're working on this year. Second major initiative is leadership development. Everything rises and falls on leadership. I believe that. I think this group does too. Our 24 principals have to be high quality, high functioning principals. They lead teachers of 100 to 200 teachers in most schools. So it's really important that they have the knowledge and skills and behaviors to lead that staff, to improve, to do all those things we want schools to do, to be that safe and warm place for kids to go to school, but also for kids to learn at high levels. We've got an aspiring principal program, and Colin mentioned promoting public educational leadership. Quality, we're all tied into this together. We really are. Great public schools, great communities. Great communities, great schools. We're all in it together. So we've got to do everything we can to support our public schools and to really make sure that they're funded well, that they're high expectations, and there's a lot of accountability for our school system. The third piece is organizational and operational effectiveness, something that's really dear to my heart. I love Edward Deming. I'm a big Drucker fan. So I look at processes and I want to say, how can we improve our processes? How can we get a little bit better tomorrow than we are today? And that's something that you'll see in the things that I'm working on as a school system is how can we get a little bit better every day, looking at those processes and improving those. So we're seeking feedback from our families. We'll be doing a perception survey next month, seeking ways that we can improve our school system, specifically at the local school. Last but not least is we'll be going out for a new SPLOS. Those of you who, I'm sure everyone in this room is familiar with SPLOS. There are 2 SPLOS currently in this county, one for the county and one for the school system. The school system is called an E-SPLOS. E is for education. The voters approve this every 5 years, and we will be coming back up for an E-Splost in May of 2022. So we'll be going out with the governor's primary election. You will see an E-Splost on that, and we're getting feedback right now from each feeder pattern, and Colin's serving on that. Judge Thompson's serving on one of those committees too. So if there's something you would like to see within our schools that we don't have, please see one of these two folks and they'll get you your idea on paper, and we'll put that on the priority list. But we'll be doing that as well. And last but not least, I wanted to tie through some quotes, how schools are really connected to economic development, and how the future of this community is we're all sort of tied in together. And that we've got to have a strong school system to have a strong community. We've got to keep the community strong to have a strong school system. So that's what I wanted to leave you with today. I want to provide 10 minutes or so for you to ask any questions. And again, be thinking about those 3, 2, 1. There's 3 things that you're proud of. There's 2 things that maybe we can improve upon, and 1 way you can get involved. So thank you. Thanks so much, Colin. JD, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Good. Yes, sir.
What impact does the teacher union have on decisions you make and the quality that you're able to achieve? Is it plus or minus?
We're lucky that, and I'll say this, we're lucky we don't have unions in Georgia. We're a right to work state. We have a teacher advisory committee that's important for me to sort of look to say, hey, are we far off what you're thinking? So I have an advisory group that I use for really bouncing ideas off of, keeping that cultural piece. So we're fortunate that we don't have one, and I think Georgia's really smart not to. If you look around, just those states that have those, it's generally, it can be a positive thing, but it's really a challenging thing for the most part. I'm obviously glad I don't work in that state. Sam was there? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just thank you. Last year, first grader was challenged with a virtual learning option. That was the only option he had. So we made a transition to Peoples. And we were enrolled, and he was in the classroom within 45 minutes. A month ago, I was taking him to school, and I was driving by the school, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, or 7:30, or I don't know what it's, and the whole body of the children were exercising. They were all walking and running and getting that energy out. So I don't know if that's something that's new, but I thought it was a great thing.
They've got a running club there. In most schools they have a running club, and kids love it. So, and they do, I mean, I should get out there with them. But they love it. And it's a great, thank you so much for sharing those 2 positive things. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
What can the public schools do for special needs children? I have 2, I'm a grandfather of 2. One is at Bradford, one is at Sam's, because they couldn't really get what they needed from the public school system. Is there any desire? It seems like there's more and more children in Fayette County that have those needs, and these other schools are busting at the seams. They can't even take them all. Yeah. So I'm wondering what you can do. I know that your academic achievement is very important. Perhaps handling these types of individuals will lower that. Yeah. But there's a need, and what can we do?
Let me kind of get it. One of his question was about special needs kids and where do they fit in, and how can we really serve those families well? It's a really great question. First of all, student achievement, we're not about the numbers. We're trying to do what's right for every kid trying to achieve at their potential. And that includes all children. So we do have lots of programs, depending on the needs of the children, that we try to find out where's a great fit for this child or that child. We do have a lot of different special needs programs, from programs that serve more intellectually disabled students to students with autism to students with behavior problems. And so we do serve a lot of those students. I'm proud of what we do. I visit a lot of those classrooms. I do think that if there's a specific case, we would want those families to come visit a classroom to see. And there's a lot of anxiety as a parent of a non-special ed student. There's a lot of anxiety bringing in your child, but if you've got a student with special needs, there's much more anxiety. So we would want to kind of make sure that we open the door wide. Here, come in, let's look at the few different classrooms that we have that would fit that program. So that's what I would encourage your daughter, your son, your son-in-law, whatever. We would love to try to serve them. But you know, families got different priorities and make different choices, and we respect that as well. Yes, sir.
I'm not in the education, obviously, we're educated, but I've heard recently, and I have younger siblings that are in the school system, and you've seen over the last maybe decade or 5 years, where how people are graded, if you would, on how people are graded, just using that as a platform, has become easier in a sense. Like I heard the other day from my sibling, this is a true fact, that they get a 20 out of 100 automatically just by putting their name on a piece of paper. And I'm not saying let's make it easier, but I was just curious, like that kind of baffled me, like we had to work, you know, to get the grade we deserve. So has that changed, or, and I'm not saying that, and that's not here in Fayette County, but
I think that we've gotten a little bit better at, the question was about grading. I think we've gotten a little bit better about grades as motivation and as consequences. What we want to try to get the kids to do is to do the work and to learn the concept. And we've gotten a little bit better. We're not where we need to be. Like, if you get it now, or you get it in 2 weeks, am I really happy either way? Yes. And so let's just say that we put the grade now in the grade book and it's a 50. But in 2 weeks, you've mastered that content, 2 weeks and you've shown that, then what should we do with the 50? They both are there. We really want the kids to learn. So grades as consequences is a really sticky wicket. So we don't want to put a kid in a situation where they turn themselves off, but we do need kids to do the work.
Yeah.
So
I see what you're
we've
saying.
gotten a little bit better, but there's more classical approaches. It hasn't changed as much as you would maybe want it to change sometimes as a parent.
okay.
The culture and the climate in our schools right now, especially high schools, is to get into Georgia Tech right now, you're going to have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 AP classes. If you backwards plan that, it's 5 when you're a senior, probably 4 when you're a junior, 3 and 2. That's hard to do. There's a lot of pressure going on to just try to get in. And pretty much the acceptance rates of all of the major universities across the country have gone down. Well, why is that? Because you got more kids applying. We've got a lot of smart children here in Fayette County. So I would say the reverse is probably more concerning, is that we've got so much emphasis on grades, and that we need to kind of keep the mental wellness of our kids a little bit in check, because kids are pretty stressed out about their grades, and so it's a balancing act. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I've kind of got 2 questions. One is, what's the impact on the public school system? We have a pretty vibrant private and also homeschool kind of stuff in our area as well. So what's that kind of impact? And then kind of the second piece is like the move on already or the dual enrollment piece. Like, so what's the impact of that on the school system?
Well, the second one, I'm going to take the second one first. That second one's easier. Dual enrollment is taking college level courses while you're still in high school, and you actually take it from a college professional. And you get credit for high school and in college. It's a really good thing for some students. You've got to be very cautious if you're trying to get into a competitive college. Most competitive colleges would rather you take an AP class versus a dual enrollment class. But it does save on your finances, because it doesn't count towards your hope, it doesn't count towards any of that. You can go ahead and and almost get your associate's degree while you're still in high school. So that's been a good thing. Both of us get funding right now. I'm curious whether or not that'll pull the Georgia General Assembly, pull that rug out from underneath one of us and say, you can't both get funding for this. So that's the first one. The first one is I think it's a positive thing that we've got a real healthy private school market here. People can choose. I'm a big believer in competition. I think that families that want to choose that, great. I just don't want them to feel like that's where they can only go. Like we have got to, our public schools have got to work hard to keep families who can choose in the public school. So if you want to go there, great. I would rather it be for a religious reason than for an academic reason.
There you go.
We've got time for one more question.
He has, Pat.
I see things in the national media that boys' graduation rates on high school and college levels are falling. Do you see that here?
I can see that in general. I can see a little bit of that. I don't see it in the data here, but girls are going to take over the world. the way that things are going, I mean, when there's our young men need a lot more than maybe what we're given, and so I definitely think there's a lot of reasons for that. Probably most of them probably I can't address here, but there's a lot of probably things that our young men need, and our young women. But you know, the young women out there are very confident in our schools. They're leading a lot of our clubs. I've noticed that here. There's a lot of opportunities, and sometimes young men will step back and let some of them do it. But I don't know. I think there's got to be sort of support for both.
Okay, Dr. Patterson, thank you so much. We make a presentation we make a gift, donation to the Rotary Foundation in your name, in your honor. And we appreciate you very much for coming and speaking with us. Very, very good.
Well, thank y'all so much for having me. I look forward to the next time you come here. I'll stick around if there's any other questions.
Yes, please do.